In a distant galaxy, a group of aliens called the Zarians arrive at an unknown planet drawn by a mysterious ancient beacon. They unexpectedly find a human ship claiming the artifact. The Zarians, proud and strong, make a mistake by challenging the humans to combat. To survive, they try to pick the weakest human fighter to face in a duel. They settle on Buttercup, a seemingly weak and awkward crew member. But what they don't know is that Earth's gravity and human spirit make Buttercup far stronger and more dangerous than he looks. This story is full of suspense, surprise, and the tension of a fight where nothing is as it seems. The stakes are life or death for the Zarians and control over powerful technology. The tone is dramatic and emotional, filled with tension as the aliens confront their own fears and underestimation of humans. The story explores themes of pride, instinct, and unexpected strength. The stars outside the Zarian ship flickered cold and distant. Inside, the air hummed with tension. Atixi and Nanae sat cross-legged on their floating discs, their blue skin glowing faintly under the ship's lights. They stared through the viewport at the human vessel below. The humans had claimed the ancient monolith, the silent beacon that had called the Zarians across the vast emptiness of space. This was a prize both sides wanted, but the Zarians had made a grave mistake. They had issued a challenge to the entire human crew before fully understanding who they were facing. Atixi's Keela, the glowing bioluminescent tentacle hanging from his chin, flickered nervously, pulsing yellow like a warning light. Nanae watched him carefully, her smooth face tense. "Your Keela is bright," she said quietly. "You are afraid." Atixi looked away. The Keela was not a decoration or a sign of strength. It was a trap. For thousands of years, Zarian males had evolved to glow brightly when danger was near. The brighter the glow, the more likely they would be attacked by the deadly predators of their underground home world. This meant the males were often sacrificed so their mates and offspring could survive. The instinct remained even now, thousands of light years from their caves. Atixi hated it. He hated how his body betrayed him. "We can't fight the whole crew," Atixi said. "We need to pick the weakest fighter and face only them." Nanae nodded, her voice firm. "Grota is our champion. Strongest warrior on this ship. He could win against any human." Atixi shook his head. "Grota is too strong. The humans have a terrible reputation. Berserkers, survivors, fighters who grow stronger when cornered. If we send Grota, we lose everything." Nanae's lips tightened. "Then what do you suggest?" "We scan them," Atixi said. "Find the one who avoids danger. The one who is weak." The Zarian ship's scanning arrays hummed to life, turning toward the human vessel. Layers of data streamed across the display: hull structure, power flows, weapon systems. Then came the biological scans: heat signatures, muscle mass, brain activity. The aliens counted the life signs, over 100 humans aboard a medium-sized ship. They were packed in tight quarters, smaller than the Zarians were used to. The humans lived crowded together, their bodies compact but strong. The AI began to sort through the bio-data. High threat, moderate threat, low threat. Most humans ranked high or moderate, built for battle or tough survival. But 3 names emerged at the bottom: Claire, Jimmy, and Buttercup. Claire was old, working in the kitchen, her hands moving with surprising speed and skill. Jimmy was paralyzed from the waist down but controlled a powerful exoskeleton, moving with mechanical strength that matched a warrior's. Buttercup was different. The scan focused on Buttercup, a thin figure in the engineering bay. The humans around him laughed and teased, calling him by the nickname. Buttercup avoided dirty work and machines, complaining about grease and grime. The Zarians exchanged glances. "This was the one. This is our chance," Nanae said. "A fighter who does not fight." Atixi activated the communication array. With steady voice, despite his glowing Keela, he sent their message: the initial challenge was a mistake, a translation error. They wished to face only Buttercup in single combat. The legend of Buttercup's strength had reached their world. They demanded to fight this champion. The human response was unexpected. The captain sounded confused, even amused. Why Buttercup? That's Enzo Martinez from engineering. The easiest going one of our crew. We'll send him if you want. The Zarians' faces betrayed their disbelief. Their plan was working, but they did not understand what made humans strong: 6 times Earth's gravity, a harsh training ground that forged tough bodies and minds. Buttercup might seem weak, but he was a different kind of fighter. Atixi turned to Nanae. Prepare Groda. He will face Buttercup. The crew gathered, nerves buzzing. Groda, massive and armored, accepted the news with quiet confidence. The battlefield was set on a barren plain between the ships, the setting sun casting long shadows. Groda's footsteps shook the earth, powerful and sure. Then Buttercup appeared. Thin, wearing only a bandana and swim shorts, skipping lightly across the ground. The humans cheered, their laughter warm and affectionate. Grodar charged, fist swinging with brutal force. The punch connected, snapping Buttercup's head back. But the humans smiled and laughed. The fight was unlike anything the Zarians had seen. Buttercup danced around attacks, messy and playful. Then, insulted by dirt thrown in his face, he transformed. Strikes came fast and wild, strong but untrained. Grodar was overwhelmed, beaten, and left unconscious. Buttercup waved goodbye and walked back to his cheering crew. The Zarians were stunned. Their weakest fighter had destroyed their champion. Atixi's Keela dimmed slowly, relief and defeat mixing in his heart. The humans explained their strength: Earth's heavy gravity, their harsh training. Their scanning technology had failed to see the true power behind the weakness. The Zarians conceded. They would leave, their pride wounded but their lives spared. Nanae's shoulders remained stiff with frustration, but Atixi felt only relief. His Keela would no longer flare yellow in terror. They had lost the battle, but they had survived. And that was enough. The Zarian ship's engines thrummed quietly as they prepared to depart the system. Atixi sat near the viewport, watching the distant blue-green planet grow smaller. The weight of defeat pressed heavily on him, but deep inside, a spark of hope still flickered. They had lost the battle, but they were alive. And sometimes, survival was the hardest victory. Nanae floated nearby, her expression still tight with frustration. I don't understand, she said softly. How could Buttercup defeat Grodar so easily? Our scanners showed he was weak. Atixi looked at her, seeing the conflict in her eyes. Our scanners measured muscle and heart rates, but they cannot measure the spirit that lives inside. Humans are different. They fight with something beyond strength. Nanae sighed and drifted to the control panel. I know. But my Keela still burns yellow when I think of it. That fear, it will not leave me. Atixi nodded. It is an ancient fear, passed down through generations. Our biology fights against us. But now, we must fight against that fear with knowledge and understanding. The ship's AI chimed softly. Captain, incoming transmission from the human vessel. Atixi activated the screen. The human captain appeared, his face calm but serious. Greetings, Zarians. I want to thank you for your honesty and honor. Your willingness to face defeat speaks of a strength you may not see in yourselves. Atixi bowed his head slightly. We are grateful for your mercy. The captain smiled. Enzo Buttercup wanted me to send a message. He says he didn't fight for glory, but for his crew. For their laughter and their lives. Nanae watched the screen, her frustration easing. He fought with a different kind of courage. The captain continued. I'd like to invite you to meet Enzo. To see him as he truly is. Not just a fighter, but a person. Atixi exchanged a glance with Nanae. We accept. The human ship docked briefly with the Zarian vessel. Enzo stepped onto their ship, his bright bandana a stark contrast to the serious faces around him. He smiled warmly, his eyes full of life. Atixi felt his Kila pulse, but this time with curiosity, not fear. Enzo extended a hand. "I heard you wanted to meet me." Nanae hesitated, then took it. "We did. Your fight was unlike anything we expected." Enzo laughed. "I guess I'm full of surprises." They walked through the ship's corridors together. Enzo shared stories of Earth, its heavy gravity, its crowded cities, its fierce determination. He spoke of training, not just for battle but for life. "We grow strong because we have to," he said. "Not just with muscles, but with heart." Atixi and Nanae listened, their minds opening to new understanding. The ancient fears and instincts still lived in them, but they could learn. They could adapt. Later, Enzo led them to the ship's common area. The crew gathered, smiling and laughing. They welcomed the Zarians warmly, sharing food and stories. Nanae looked around, amazed. "Your crew, they seem so connected." Enzo nodded. "We fight for each other. Even when the odds are against us." Atixi felt something shift inside him. The weight of ancient fears lessened, replaced by a fragile hope. Perhaps this was the true strength of humans, their unyielding spirit and unity. As the night deepened, Atixi spoke quietly to Nanae. "We came here seeking power and found something more." Nanae smiled softly. "We came to fight, but we are learning to understand." The stars outside shone brightly, silent witnesses to a new beginning. The battle was over, but the journey had just begun. The next morning, the Zarian crew gathered on their ship's main deck. The defeat against the humans weighed heavily on their minds. Atixi and Nanae stood before them, ready to address the questions and fears that had grown overnight. Atixi's Kila glowed faintly, steady now, a sign of calm resolve. "We faced a challenge unlike any we expected," he began. "We saw weakness, but we met strength we could not measure. Our scanners failed us, but our spirits remain." Nanae's voice carried the weight of leadership. "Our instincts told us to fight with brute force, to use fear and strength. But today, we learn that courage comes in many forms." Groda, the mighty warrior who had fallen so swiftly, stepped forward. His armor bore dents and cracks, but his eyes burned with determination. "I was proud to fight for our people. But I have learned that strength is not only muscle. I want to train with these humans, to learn their ways." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some were angry, others confused, but many were curious. The ancient traditions that had kept them alive were being challenged by something new, something frightening yet exciting. Atixi nodded. "We will begin a new path. We will study these humans. We will train to understand not only their bodies but their minds and hearts." Nanae looked at Groda. "Will you lead this effort?" Groda straightened. "I will." Meanwhile, on the human ship, Enzo Buttercup had become something of a celebrity. His victory over Groda was the talk of the crew. But Enzo did not see himself as a hero. To him, it was simply another day, another way to protect the people he cared for. In quiet moments, he thought about the Zarians. Proud, strong, and yet scared. Scared of what they did not understand. Buttercup knew that beneath the armor and glowing Kila, they were much like him, trying to survive in a vast, dangerous universe. The two ships remained docked for several days. The humans shared their knowledge of engineering, combat techniques, and the realities of living on a heavy-gravity planet. The Zarians trained hard, pushing their bodies to new limits, learning to control fear and channel it into focus. Atixi found himself fascinated by the human methods, disciplined yet flexible, tough yet caring. Nanae spent hours talking with Enzo, discovering the strength in vulnerability, the courage to admit fear and still move forward. One day, Groda approached Enzo with a proposal. "Teach me to fight like you." Enzo smiled. It's not just fighting, Groda. It's about knowing why you fight, who you fight for. If you want, I'll help. Groda's grin was fierce. Then let's begin. As the days passed, the Zarians began to change. Their glowing keelas dimmed more often, no longer signaling panic but steady courage. The ancient instincts still pulsed within them, but new thoughts took root: hope, respect, friendship. However, not all aboard the Zarian ship were pleased. Some elders whispered in shadows, warning against trusting humans. They feared the loss of tradition, the danger of change. A quiet unrest began to grow. Atixi sensed the tension. He knew that survival required adaptation, but the cost could be high. We must be careful, he told Nane. Some will resist. Some will want to return to old ways. Nane nodded. But we cannot go back. Not after what we've seen. The sun set again on the strange alliance between species. Two very different crews, bound by circumstance and a shared desire to live. The ancient monolith, silent and powerful, watched over them all. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and wonders. But perhaps, together, they could face what came next. Days passed like shifting tides aboard the two ships, now tethered in uneasy alliance. The Zarians trained harder than ever, their keelas flickering steadily with determination. Groda was changing, once a proud warrior who trusted only his raw strength, now a student of a new kind of combat taught by Enzo Buttercup. The lessons were strange, mixing dance-like movements with sudden bursts of power, unlike anything Groda had ever seen. Atixi and Nane watched closely, hoping their people could grow stronger without losing themselves. But beneath the surface, a growing unrest stirred. The elders whispered warnings, and some younger warriors questioned the choice to trust humans. They are weak, one muttered. Their strength is a lie. One night, Nane found herself alone in the ship's observation deck. The stars outside twinkled cold and distant, but her mind burned with worry. Atixi joined her, his keela a soft blue glow. They doubt us, she said quietly. The elders fear change. Atixi nodded. Change is frightening. But fear will destroy us if we let it. Nane took a deep breath. We must show them the truth, that strength is more than muscle. That courage means facing the unknown. Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. The AI's voice called out, calm but urgent, unknown vessel detected approaching at high speed. Atixi's keela flared bright yellow. Intruders? Nane activated the sensors. On the screen, a sleek, dark ship moved fast toward them. No markings. No signals. Hostile? Nane asked. Unknown, the AI replied. No response to communication attempts. The crew scrambled. Groda readied his armor. The humans prepared weapons. The fragile piece was shattered in an instant. Atixi ordered, raise shields. Prepare for battle. The Zarians and humans stood side by side, united by necessity. The enemy ship closed in rapidly. Suddenly, the unknown vessel fired. Bright beams lanced through space, striking the Zarian ship's shields. The hum of energy pulsed with violent force. The battle had begun. Groda charged toward the weapons console, coordinating defenses. Enzo moved swiftly, helping humans man the turrets. Atixi and Nane directed strategy, their voices steady despite the chaos. The enemy ship was fast and deadly, attacking with precision and fury. But the combined crews fought back with fierce determination. Each side trusted the other, despite differences. During a lull in the fighting, Atixi spoke into the comms, identify yourselves. Why attack us? The reply was cold and harsh. You trespassers in our territory. Surrender the artifact or be destroyed. Atixi exchanged a glance with Nane. This fight is bigger than us. Our survival depends on unity. The enemy ship struck again, breaching the shields and causing damage. Alarms screamed. Groda grunted, "We won't fall here. Not after what we've learned." Enzo nodded, firing a pulse cannon. "Fight smart. Fight together." The battle raged on, each side pushing harder, neither willing to yield. Inside the chaos, Atixi felt his kilopulse, not with fear, but with fierce resolve. He remembered Buttercup's words about fighting for those you care about. That was what gave strength beyond muscle. Nanae stood by his side, her eyes shining with determination. Together, they led their crews in a fight for survival, not just for themselves, but for the future they hoped to build. The battle raged beneath the cold stars, a storm of light and sound. The Zarian and human crews fought side by side against the shadowy attackers. The enemy ships' relentless assault battered their shields and tore through hull plates. Yet, every strike they endured only strengthened their resolve. Groda, armored and fierce, coordinated defenses while Enzo moved with quick grace, his untrained but powerful strikes a blur as he helped repel boarders who tried to breach the Zarian ship. The humans' laughter and cheers mixed with Zarian war cries, creating an unbroken chorus of defiance. Atixi and Nanae stood on the bridge, guiding the battle. Their kilas glowed steadily, no longer betraying fear but shining with quiet power. They realized the fight was not just for survival but for respect and understanding between their peoples. Suddenly, the enemy ship's weapons faltered, their shields flickering. Enzo shouted, "Now! Push forward!" With a combined surge, the crews fired their most powerful weapons. Energy beams tore through the enemy's defenses, shattering their hull. The attackers faltered, then broke formation, retreating into the blackness of space. Cheers erupted aboard both ships. The impossible had been achieved, a true victory born from unity and trust. Atixi turned to Nanae, eyes shining. "We have won, but more than that, we have changed." Nanae smiled. "The future is uncertain, but together, we are stronger." The human captain's voice came through the comms. "You fought with honor. Earth welcomes the Zarians as allies." Enzo approached, smiling but tired. "Guess I'm more useful than I thought." Groda laughed, a deep sound full of respect. "And I have much to learn." The ancient monolith, silent witness to the battle, pulsed softly. The artifact was no longer just a prize, it was a symbol of new beginnings. As the stars watched silently, two very different species prepared to journey forward together. No longer enemies, but comrades facing the vast, unknown galaxy side by side. The battle had ended. A new chapter had begun.